Yo, hello and welcome back guys to another vlog. This time it's going to be rather boring. So here we are, another week in the books, nothing to really talk about, and this is exactly the topic I want to talk about here today. Boring things, because what we actually need to do when it comes to the overall outcome, the overall goal, we need to actually embrace the things that are boring, the things that don't really give us the things that we are always looking for, the exciting things, the entertaining things. So if you're always looking for entertainment, if you're always looking for the exciting things in a diet, in training, nutrition, then probably this isn't the right place for you. If you're always looking for something that is happening like now, also this isn't the right place for you. Bodybuilding especially is a sport of long-term gratification. The journey is the goal. I know it sounds always so cheesy when people bring that up and saying like, okay, the journey is the goal. The destiny doesn't really matter, but actually it is exactly this when it comes to bodybuilding. Sure, you can have short-term goals, longer-term goals, you can have a vision in front of you, but the thing is, does it do you any kind of good? Most of the time not, because especially something like muscle gain is such a slow process that embracing the entire journey, finding joy and pleasure in the journey in it for itself is probably the best way to go about it. So as the intro already implied, here today this is just a boring kind of vlog. We're not going to do any kind of fancy transitions, kind of doing any kind of fancy underlying music, kind of fancy B-rolls or so. It's not the vlog for it this time around. I've been sick now since 3.5 weeks. You can bet your ass off that these 3.5 weeks weren't exciting. They weren't the glamorous weeks. These aren't the weeks that you want to show to the world because nothing is going on. Training is kind of boring as fuck because you just go in there to maintain your performance. You do the minimum amount of work that you can get away with without making the sickness worse, but at the same time you're doing enough so that you're not losing your adaptations or you're even regressing. And the scientific literature has so far shown that the minimum volume just to maintain the performance is actually much lower than we first thought it is. Myself included, I always thought that the ceiling and the threshold is much higher than it seems or apparently it is. So that being said, these weeks aren't glamorous. These aren't the weeks that everyone is shouting home about, but these are the weeks that actually do count. The most successful bodybuilders out there, and I would even say that the majority of people that are very successful in life in general, are the ones who can endure doing the same thing each and every single day without getting sick and tired of it. They are becoming masters in one specific thing. They are mastering and embracing the boredom, embracing the monotony. And I think that there is a huge value in it for itself, because when you can endure the mundane things, if you are finding joy and pleasure and happiness in always doing the same things over and over and over again, as long as it's not something that is holding yourself back or that is causing you to actually regress, that will eventually bring you forward. And probably the ones who are most successful with everything in life, training and nutrition are the ones who can accept and who find joy and pleasure and happiness in repeating the same things over and over and over again, which then eventually leads to progression, and consistency yields success. It's inevitable, as long as you're always making sure that progression is still happening, because you see it all the time. There are 100 of thousands of examples going to the gym each and every single day, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, and nothing changes. Because those are the people that are then claiming like, I'm doing it for health purposes. Yeah, no shit, but you're still investing lots of time and effort going into the gym, and you're probably not doing it just to spin your wheels. And spinning your wheels doesn't necessarily make you healthier. So why are you then wasting kind of time when you're going into the gym and you're not progressing? But at the same time, if you are focusing on the most fundamental principles of something like training or life in general, of progressively learning and making things harder over time, then you will get better over time. And as long as you do that for the next 10, 20 years or so, you will master things. You will become the master. And one of the movies I quoted the most to a lot of my athletes is Jiro Dreams of Sushi. It is an amazing documentary about a sushi chef that is living in Tokyo, who is the only 3-star Michelin sushi chef in the world. Old guy, now also he has a couple of sons who are taking over his business, but he had only one dream and one goal, and that is making the most perfect sushi there is in the world. And now you may be asking yourself, like, sushi? Alright, a little bit of rice, a little bit of raw fish, and that's it. And that is the thing, that therein lies the message of making something that may seem not complex and complicated, and may seem that you can't really adjust it or make it to something special. Turn it into something special and make the most out of it. Perfection the craft, perfecting a skill. And that is exactly what you're then doing on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, or maybe even a yearly basis, when you're always doing the same stuff over and over again. And finding happiness and joy in these mundane tasks is one of the keys for long-term success. I just leave it here, guys. A very, very simple message here today. Find joy and pleasure in the boring stuff, because when you can do that, then the exciting things will cause and give you so much more pleasure in return, and also make the entire journey even more pleasurable. But at the same time, you are not hitting a wall. Once things are getting mundane, once things are getting boring, you still find joy and happiness in those tasks as well. And once you do that, there is no limit to what you can accomplish. So guys, that's about it for this week's episode. Very boring episode, but also here, you don't always need to have the most fancy equipment, most fancy things, most fancy training approaches. Boring is good. Boring is good. Start to embrace it. Start to welcome it with open arms. Start saying, boring, you're my best friend now. We will go on a journey together, and that journey will take place for the rest of our lives. So let's go.